In the quaint town of Meadowbrook, a place where everyone knew each other's name and secrets were seldom kept, lived an elderly woman named Eleanor. She resided in a charming cottage at the end of Willow Street, surrounded by a flourishing garden that mirrored the grace and resilience of its owner. Eleanor's children had long since flown the nest, dispersed to distant corners of the world, leaving her alone with the echoes of a life filled with both joy and sorrow. She had raised them with love and care, but as the years passed, their connections weakened like fragile threads, unable to withstand the test of time. As Eleanor aged, her children became less attentive. Their infrequent visits were brief and lacked the warmth and genuine concern that once defined their family bonds. In the solitude of her cottage, Eleanor felt the cruel chill of abandonment settle around her fragile heart. The cruelest of the offspring was Regina, the youngest and once the most cherished. She had transformed from a sweet, spirited girl into a woman consumed by her own ambitions. A successful corporate executive, Regina prioritized her career over family, dismissing her mother's calls with cold efficiency. One fateful afternoon, Eleanor received an invitation to a family gathering hosted by Regina. Hope fluttered in her chest, as if a long-lost friend had returned. An opportunity to reconnect, to bridge the widening gap between them. She put on her best dress, a sky-blue ensemble that complemented the fading color of her eyes, and set out with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. Regina's mansion loomed at the edge of town, a stark contrast to the cozy cottages of Meadowbrook. The air inside was filled with an artificial warmth, like the veneer of civility that coated Regina's carefully crafted exterior. Eleanor was greeted with forced smiles and empty pleasantries, her presence a formality rather than a genuine desire for connection. As the evening unfolded, it became apparent that Eleanor was an inconvenient relic of Regina's past. The cruel daughter was preoccupied with impressing her high-profile guests and showcasing her opulent lifestyle. Eleanor, the embodiment of a fading era, was relegated to the shadows, an embarrassment to be hidden rather than celebrated. Amidst the clinking of glasses and the hollow laughter that reverberated through the mansion, Eleanor felt an overwhelming sense of isolation. She wandered through rooms adorned with excess, a stark reminder of the cavernous gap between her daughter's world and her own. The cruel offspring had become a master of the art of indifference. The breaking point came when Regina, oblivious to her mother's presence, publicly dismissed Eleanor's attempt at conversation. The cruelty reached its zenith as Regina belittled her in front of the gathered guests, reducing her to a relic of the past, a burden to be borne with disdain. Embarrassed and wounded, Eleanor retreated to a quiet corner of the garden, where moonlight filtered through the branches of ancient oaks. Tears streamed down her weathered cheeks, reflecting the pain of a heart shattered by the cruelty of a daughter she had once cradled in her arms. In that moment of despair, Eleanor found an unexpected companion. A stray cat, its fur as gray as Eleanor's own, approached with tentative curiosity. A bond formed between them, a silent understanding that transcended the cruelty of human relationships. As the night wore on, Eleanor made a decision. She would no longer subject herself to the heartlessness of her offspring. With newfound strength, she walked away from the mansion, leaving behind the opulence and cruelty that defined Regina's world. The following days saw Eleanor reclaiming her life. The cruel offspring, blinded by ambition and arrogance, never comprehended the depth of their loss. Meadowbrook became Eleanor's haven once again, and the stray cat her loyal companion. In the quietude of her cottage, surrounded by the solace of her garden, Eleanor discovered a resilience she never knew she possessed. The cruel offspring had underestimated the strength of a mother's spirit, a spirit that endured and flourished despite the heartache inflicted by those who were meant to cherish it most.